Another day and another Cardinal win inspired by an outburst by the St. Louis offense. Don't let these Cardinals get hot. Coming up on B-Schaeff Daily. What's going on, everyone, and welcome in to this edition of B-Schaeff Daily. Brenden Schaeffer here with you in the late evening hours of Saturday, May 18th, 2024. The Cardinals are getting hot, folks. They're heating up. Offensively in particular, the Cardinals are starting to put together some pretty good outings. And they had another such outing on Saturday night. 7-2, the Cardinals defeat the Red Sox, who have now lost a number of games in a row. And the Cardinals have handed them a couple losses. We'll see Sunday. It'll be another chance for the Cardinals to go for a sweep. They have not gotten the sweep yet in 2024. Is this the week that we see it? Is this the weekend at Busch Stadium that they get one? It'll be Matthew Liberatore on the mound Sunday. But the Cardinals win Game 1 on Friday with an offensive outburst. They win Game 2 on Saturday in a somewhat similar fashion because the Cardinals did compile 14 hits throughout Saturday's game. But it took them until the very end to be able to pull it off in terms of capitalizing on all of their offensive production by scoring runs. It's all about run scoring, and when they headed into the bottom of the eighth inning, it was tied. Cardinals had a chance to close out a 2-1 win after picking up a run in the bottom of the seventh inning. A little small ball action to get the 2-1 lead. Gave it back up in the top of the eighth, but no matter. The Cardinals put together an honest-to-goodness rally in the bottom of the eighth inning and were able to sustain it for a total of 5 runs scored. Ivan Herrera with the go-ahead RBI hit. Nolan Gorman, Mason Wynn, all contributing there in the eighth inning with runs batted in. And Lars Nootbaar with the knockout blow. Really, I guess the first one was the knockout blow because Boston ultimately did not score any runs in the ninth inning. But it was nice to be able to see the Cardinals use Kyle Leahy for the ninth instead of Ryan Helsley. Another Cardinal win where Ryan Helsley was not required to pitch. And the reason we keep highlighting that is because Ryan Helsley is automatic, but you cannot use him every single time you win a game. And for the longest time, that was sort of the strategy that the Cardinals, it's not that it was intentional, but it's the one that they employed because it seemed like every time they had a chance to win a game, they were leading by between 1 and 3 runs. So Ollie Marmol does what, in my opinion, any sensible manager would do, especially when it comes to a team that is struggling in the standings, and says, hey, let's get Helsley out there and take this one home in a guaranteed manner, because that really has been the MO on Ryan Helsley. But in this case, the Cardinals, who went into that bottom of the eighth inning tied, ended up scoring enough runs that Ryan Helsley was not even necessary, which puts you into a great position coming into Sunday's game. If you really want to go for that sweep, you do know that Ryan Helsley should be rested and available after the Cardinals did not need him either of the previous wins in this Boston series. He's had the rest and recuperation that he needs, honestly, to be able to give you a back-to-back, give you 3 of the next 4, provided just general standard circumstances. That kind of stuff matters. I know people might think we make too much of a deal of it at times, but because the Cardinals didn't need Helsley tonight, maybe he will be rested and ready to roll in a major way for the remainder of this homestand. And it was thanks to the reserve right fielder who came into the game late. I call him Ref Rob Schneider because his name is Rob Refsnyder, and to me, that just is not a name. So I call him Ref Rob Schneider, and I tweeted it twice, and it's a joke for 2 people. Nobody thinks it's funny, but I think it's funny because there's an actor named Rob Schneider. Anyway, Ref Rob Schneider lets the ball go between his legs, under his glove, whatever it was. Lars Nootbaar's hit turns into a lengthy hit. He gets to third base on the error, and a couple of runs score, make it 7-2 Cardinals, and that permits Kyle Leahy to be the guy that throws the ninth inning. And good for Leahy. Ends up getting the last out of this one, and the Cardinals win it 7-2. So here we are. Suddenly, it's a lot different than it was when the Cardinals were in that spot. Game 3 of the Milwaukee series last weekend, 0-3 in the series going into Sunday, thinking, oh boy, could the manager be fired? Are we about to be swept? Are we done? Is this it? I mean, it was bleak for the Cardinals at that point in time. And again, I'm not saying they fixed everything. The record is the record. They're 20-25. They're still in fourth place in the division, although percentage points out of third. The Pittsburgh Pirates did lose on Saturday, so the Cardinals now, literally, it's percentage points. They're not even a half a game back of Pittsburgh for third. But they're still 7 games back of Milwaukee for first place in the division. And if you kind of take a peek at what's going on in the wild card standings, those pesky Padres are still in position there with the third wild card spot in the National League. But the Cardinals are merely 2 games back of the pace that the Padres are setting at this point. Below 500, 23-24 for the Padres. Cardinals are 3 wins back, but only 1 loss behind, which levels out to about a 2-game deficit. And they're in the mix. I mean, again, I know that people criticize sometimes when they say, oh my gosh, they win a game and you make a big deal out of it. No. They're starting to turn a little bit of a corner here. They've got a long way to go. All right? They've got a long way to go because you're at 20-25. You're still 5 games below. Let's see if you can sweep a series. Like, that's really been the impediment at this point to the Cardinals really getting up off the mat and being legitimately back into the mix if you're talking about what this season could become. Because if you win 2 and you're thinking, that's great, we won the series, but then you lose the third one, you do. You take 2 steps forward, but still 1 step back. So you're not gaining a ton in that regard. And when you lose 3 of 4 in Milwaukee to begin the road trip that they just came off of prior to this Boston series, well, the 2 out of 3 series wins don't really hit with as much of a weight because of what you just did in the losing regard, right? You lose 3 of 4. You can win 2 of 3, win 2 of 3. That's 4 of 6. But that still equates to basically a 500 record over the span that we're talking about. You could go, hey, wow, great, 2 consecutive series wins, 4 out of 6. But if you add up the previous series, I'm not even talking about prior to that with the White Sox series and the Mets series. I'm not even getting into that. If you just take the Brewers, Angels, Red Sox, Cardinals are 5-4 in their last 9. Here's a chance to really make a dent by beating Boston on Sunday, sweeping a series, and being able to look up and say, hey, we're actually making some progress in this regard. I will say, though, regardless of whether that happens or not, offensively, wouldn't you admit it looks like a different team right now for the Cardinals? And again, not just tonight, 14 hits, 7 runs. Yeah, it took to the bottom of the 8th to pull off the real significant rally that got the Cardinals this win. But they did it, right? And you got to give them credit. Offensively, this Cardinal team is starting to rise in the ranks just a little bit. 671 OPS is tied for 22nd with a couple of other teams. Tied for 22nd. Again, that's not great. That's not going to get the Cardinals where they need to go. They need to be a top 10, top 12 offense, in my opinion, if they're going to be a playoff team. Because I just don't know if the pitching is going to be good enough to overcome an offense that does anything less than top 10, top 12, top 13-ish. You can get lucky. You got a really good bullpen that can buoy you. You can be good with runners in scoring position. That would be a way, right? You wouldn't need to rank as highly in some of those categories if you're good in the clutch. Cardinals were 3 for 8 tonight with RISP. But generally, right, they've been one of the league's worst teams in that regard, in the clutch. But if you're tied for 22nd, that's better than 28th, 29th, like they were a week ago or so at this time. So the Cardinals are starting to make some progress offensively, and you look at the guys that are doing it. I don't know if it's sustainable, but I do know that it's the right guys that are getting it done right now. Nolan Gorman, another home run tonight, his 7th of the year. That is significant. For Nolan Gorman to start coming around will make for a more dynamic Cardinal offense. Tonight he goes 2 for 4. He hits the home run, couple of RBIs. He did strike out twice. He's going to do that, though. He's going to strike out whether he's hitting dingers or not, so he might as well hit the dingers, too. Offset some of the swing and miss with some power production. That's all you're really asking for. He's got the average up over 200. That's good to see. OPS at 689. I'm starting to believe Nolan Gorman's going to settle in. We know Alec Burleson has been really riding hot. His OPS up to 796 after another 2-hit game tonight. Nolan Arenado contributing. He was on base 3 times again. Goldschmidt, not a big game, but he at least picks up a base hit, 1 for 5. Couple of strikeouts for Goldie, but again, had a base knock. Lars Nootbaar really coming around, 2 for 5, couple of ribbies. Again, the hit that ref Rob Schneider allowed to turn into a three-bagger was with an error, but RBIs still were relevant to that. Donovan, leadoff man on base a couple of times. Every single guy in the Cardinal lineup had a hit tonight, including the pinch hitter Dylan Carlson. Got his average up to .091. I mean, 14 hits, 3 walks. Cardinals capitalized with 7 runs. It took them a while, but they did it. They ended up coming up with the 5-run 8th inning. The signs are there right now for this Cardinal offense in terms of their ability to turn things around because they've been doing it lately. It's a small sample, but you look over the last 7 days. You want to know who's number 2 in OPS in Major League Baseball last 7 days? St. Louis Cardinals. 891 OPS last week. Yankees are better. That's the only team that's been better. Cardinals have slugged 9 home runs the last 7 days, too. That's in the top 5 in MLB. I'm not saying that's the team they're going to be every day, not the team they're going to be every week, even. But if this Cardinal team can start to become a force offensively on a more consistent basis than they did at the beginning of the year, which was basically never, then maybe things can turn around. What is your sense right now as a Cardinal fan sitting out there in Cardinal land? How are you liking this resurgence by the Cardinal offense? Again, nobody got fired. Nobody, there weren't major changes. We were calling for them. We said, hey, it's got to turn around quick. If it doesn't turn around quick, I don't know if you can justify it. But they didn't make any changes. They stuck to their guns, and somehow, some way or another, we are seeing a different version of this Cardinals offense right now. 7-2 winner on Saturday. Their 20th win of the season. Another game you didn't need Ryan Helsley. That feels good. Everybody, all 9 guys in the starting lineup had a hit, and then Dylan Carlson as the man off the bench had one too. What do you think, Cardinals fans of the Cardinal offense right now? Let me know in the YouTube comment section below, and make sure to hit like on this video and subscribe by hitting the lower right-hand corner of your screen with the red button that you see if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel. Brenden Schaeffer, St. Louis Cardinals writer, covering the Cardinals here on YouTube and for KMOV.com all year long. And I wanted to give some shout-outs because we had a few new YouTube members join the membership program within the last day. Andrew, Brett, and Ken, welcome in. I want to shout out Dominic, Jennifer, Scotty, Darren, Justin, and Damian as well for already being on board. Lots of perks there. You can check out the link in the description below if you would like to become a member of the channel. The more members we get, I put it in as like a secondary tier of the membership that I'm hoping to put together a Discord where then there can be like a private group chat if you guys want to become a channel member. May just be that, I kind of nixed that second tier. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants, didn't really know exactly what I was doing with this thing. If most people are like, look, I'm gonna join the first tier, I'm not gonna do this additional tier. I'll just bump that down. I'll get the Discord started, and everybody involved in it will get to be able to join that. So again, just kind of working through this as I am. This is all relatively new still. Started YouTube in April of 2023 and just learning as I go. But you guys, it's been great. And this year, I've really tried to do a daily podcast or daily videos of some type or another on YouTube and the b-schaeff daily feed on Spotify. So thank you guys so much for joining and sticking with me. If memberships are something that you're interested in, the link is right there in the video description to this video. Let's talk a little bit, though, about the pitching tonight as we move along here on b-schaeff Daily. Talked a lot about the offense already. Look, it's been great. It needs to continue to be great. And if it is, this could be a run for the Cardinals that, again, would anybody be stunned? And be honest, I know there's a lot of pessimism out there because of the way the season started. But would anybody be stunned out there if the Cardinals, we're talking a month from now, and they're back around 500, maybe a shade even above 500, and that offense has really come to life on a consistent basis? And you're looking at 1 through 9 when the Cardinals toss that lineup on social media. They put it out on Twitter, 4 p.m., the night of the game or whatever time they do it. And you look up that lineup 1 through 9 and you go, man, there are no easy outs in this thing. Would you be shocked if that's the way you feel about this Cardinal lineup a month from now? Or are you still not there yet? You still feel like, all right, we're doing a lot of sunshine pumping here for a team that still ranks in the bottom 10 in MLB in a lot of these offensive categories. Either way, either answer is fine with me. I'm genuinely curious how you guys feel out there in Cardinals land. Is a week like they've had, where they've been the second best offense in baseball according to OPS over the last 7 days, is that something that gets you fired up a little bit? Or do you go, all right, it's a drop in the bucket, let's wait and see? Because I look at it and say, I do think it can be indicative of something more. And the reason I would believe that is because at the beginning of the season, I thought they would be this kind of offense. I thought they would be a good offense. They would score consistently. They wouldn't have the crisp bugaboo Cardinals runners in scoring position. Like, I didn't think all of that was going to be an issue. Certainly not to the extent that it has been. So to think that they're coming around and maybe coming into their own a little bit. And again, you don't have Jordan Walker back yet. He's been hitting for a good batting average in Memphis, AAA. Still kind of waiting on the power production consistently, but the swings are much better to be able to produce the batting average that he has down there. Wilson Contreras has not been a part of this, and he was your best hitter by far before he got hurt. So let me know in the comments how you're thinking about this Cardinal offense at this point, not only right now, but also projecting forward. What do you think it will be a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now? Can this be the new normal? We'll see. Don't let these Cardinals get hot, though. That's my statement. Because if they do, I think they are very much primed to make a run in this NL Central, because as much as the Brewers and Cubs have played some really darn good baseball, I don't know if those teams are as good if firing on all cylinders as the Cardinals could be if they are firing on all cylinders, especially offensively. Now, I said we were going to talk pitching, so let's do it. Miles Mikolas, this was kind of a nice change of pace for him. No, he didn't get beyond 5 innings, but it was very simple. Gave up the solo home run that it seems like he does. Even in his good starts, he'll give up a solo shot. But 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, bang, that's it. ERA down below 6, just like that. Miles Mikolas did a nice job tonight. He was efficient. You say, well, he only got through 5 innings. How can you say that he was efficient? This was Ollie Marmol managing to win this game, and I don't mind it. I don't mind it one bit. Bullpen covered 4 innings and only gave up 1 run. Don't bury JoJo Romero for the blown save. He did get the win, by the way, too. Kind of a quirk of the fact that he gave up the run but finished the 8th inning, and then the Cardinals in the bottom half of the 8th, they go on their barrage for 5 runs. But John King, Andrew Kittredge, and Kyle Leahy all with scoreless frames, and JoJo got hit around a little bit, but was able to get through it with just a tied score instead of, gave up the 2-1 lead, but that was it. You were able to get out of that 8th inning, and it was still tied. I credit Ollie Marmol for pulling Mikolas as early as he did. How many times this year have we seen a Cardinal starter break down in the 5th, break down in the 6th, break down as Kyle Gibson broke down in the 7th last night? And in this case, Ollie said, look, 79 pitches, yeah, he could go the 6th, absolutely, but let's not have him do it. We're going to bring in John King because that part of the lineup is going to be conducive to having the lefty John King on the hill. Why try and push it when you've got the relief arsenal that you feel like is in a good spot to be able to get you those outs? And lo and behold, big spot in the lineup as the Red Sox were ready to turn things back over, 2-3-4, and John King gets it done. 1-2-3 inning, just like that. When you have lefties coming up as a part of that as well, that ends up being part of the equation. Abreu and Devers, 2 lefties. All right, let's get the lefty in there. And it's a little early in the game to use JoJo for that spot. You could do it if you wanted, but I think it could leave you a little bit lean on the backside of it. That's why you have a second lefty in that bullpen, and that's a big spot for John King, by the way, to come through with. It was very nondescript the way the inning went for King. Got through it, no fanfare. The way you kind of want it to look when you're a middle relief pitcher. But the reason that it's important is because Matthew Liberatore is starting on Sunday. And how many times have we heard the Cardinals sort of imply, like, well, yeah, Libby could be a starter, but we really like him in the bullpen. He's filling a role out there. If Libby was not starting tomorrow, he's pitching the 6th inning tonight. And look, I think you trusted Libby in that role more than most Cardinals fans do John King. But you got to have another lefty out there. It's not the end-all, be-all. As I've said, look, I think it's more important to have a really good number 5 starter, and maybe Liberatore can be that. Maybe he can't. I would like to see the Cardinals just consistently, you make a decision and then you roll with it. You don't have to continue going back and forth and wavering on what the role for Libby is supposed to be. But to have John King there and to have him come through in a spot like this, I think that could give him a little bit more comfort in saying, all right, Liberatore is going to be in the rotation for the time being. It may not last all year. Who knows how it's going to play out. But having a guy like John King and having him come through in the spot that was tailor-made for that next lefty, I think that's meaningful for this Cardinals team. And yeah, JoJo ends up, giving up a run in his inning, but that was the way you design it is, all right, get you through John King, and then the next time that spot in the order comes around where the lefties are piled up against you, maybe JoJo gets that opportunity. And it played out that way. I thought Ollie Marmol managed the bullpen really, really well tonight. I know people don't like hearing that. I wonder how many games they'd have to win before people would come around on Ollie. I think they're not close. And I don't blame you. I get it. If you're upset, look, they're 20-25. I already can see the comments from some folks. Oh my gosh, he's throwing the parade. Well, I'm not. I spent a lot of time already in this podcast reiterating, hey, they need to win Sunday or it doesn't actually mean that much. You can win 2 out of 3 till the cows come home. The Cardinals would have to do that for basically a month to get into a playoff position that you feel good about in the division. Not talking about the third wild card, but like a spot that you really feel good about. They're 5 games under right now. They'd lose game 3 on Sunday. They'd be 6 under. Their next 6 series, they could win 2 of 3 just to get back to 500. You do it a few more times, suddenly a month has passed, and my take would be spot on. So they are going to have a lot of work to do. But man, I can't help but think they're in a better spot than they were. I mean, it was bleak last weekend in Milwaukee until Sunday rolled around. It was like, this is some of the worst baseball that we have seen in a long time in St. Louis. And that's including a team that just lost 91 games last year. So the fact that they have rebounded in the way that they have, still with some disappointments along the way, should have swept the Angels, plain and simple. But the fact that they are where they are, I think Cardinals fans can feel a little bit better about, maybe not that they're going to make it, that you may not think they're going to get it done. I think you can at least feel a little better about the idea that they're in it for a little bit longer of a haul than you might have suspected they would be. They're not mailing this thing in. I don't think they're throwing in the towel in mid-May. I think that's what we've learned over the last week or so. If you're still skeptical about how this thing gets sustained, I don't blame you. Because pitching-wise, there's more that needs to be done. But Miles Mikolas, tonight was a nice step forward. Didn't give up a ton of hits, just 2 hits in 5 innings. 79 pitches. In any other circumstance, Cardinals could have decided, hey, he's going to pitch the 6th. Maybe even the 7th if he gets an efficient 6th. But he did his job. And all he said, let's go aggressive with the bullpen, and it worked out. And a bullpen that goes 4 innings and gives up 1 run does do its job. You're not going to have it be the case. Even your best relievers are going to give up runs sometimes. So I'm still calling it a plus night for the bullpen, despite a run allowed by JoJo. 4 innings, 1 run, you take that every time. Well, not every time, but you should be able to. You should have an offense that permits you to be able to be comfortable with what that looks like. All right, you give up a run over the latter 4 innings of the game. Offensively, you should be scoring at least to match that. So it's a good spot to be in when your bullpen comes up and comes through the way the Cardinals group did on Saturday night. And as of now, again, don't let the Cardinals get hot, because if you look back, all right, you win the finale in Milwaukee, then 2 of 3, then 2 in a row. That's 5 of 6. Sunday matters. Sunday matters a lot. How much better does 6 of 7 sound than 5 of 7? It's a huge difference, a colossal difference, especially considering you lost 7 straight right before that. Cardinals are in a spot where I think they can make a little go of this. They've got to keep the pedal down, and it's not going to get easier. It's not going to get easier after this series with the Orioles and the Cubs coming at your throat. I mean, they're going to come for you. So what do you think of Cardinals fans? Let me know in the comments below your confidence level, your thoughts on Saturday's game, the Cardinal win, and whether or not they can complete the feat this time. and get the dadgum sweep. Seems like they've had 3 or 4 chances so far this year and have not capitalized on any of them. This is the one that you'd like to have for sure. Matthew Liberatore, all right, it's up to you now. Bullpen, they used the bullpen pretty decently tonight. Again, we talked about the 4 innings, and that's okay. Ryan Helsley's there. Just get him to the 9th inning, and you'll probably win this game if you have a lead going into the 9th. But it's going to be interesting because the Cardinals have been compromised in the previous Liberatore starts because he just hasn't been able to go very deep. And you did use Leahy tonight. He's sort of been the piggyback with Libby in the starts that he's made so far. Now, I think Leahy only pitched 1 inning, so you certainly could use him again tomorrow if you need to. Maybe not for multiple. Didn't see Nick Robertson. You could go to Chris Roycroft tomorrow. You may have to. But we'll see what it ends up looking like on the back end. If the Cardinal offense keeps doing what it's been doing, though, it makes life a lot easier for Ollie Marmol. Those decisions don't feel nearly as life or death as to which reliever you're going to put in. Because, again, you could make the right decision as a manager, and you could still be wrong because the guy could give up a run, and everybody could point at it and go, see, he's the one that's, that was a bad move. Should have brought in the other guy. A lot of times those criticisms are overblown, and I appreciate the fans who recognize, okay, you're not going to be perfect. Even the right move can end up being the wrong one by a manager if the execution's not there. But in this case, they're going to need Liberatore to at least give him 5 innings, I think. And even that may not be enough. It depends on what kind of offense shows up. But if you can have the one that showed up for the last week with 9+ hits in each and every game, that would be pretty special. That would be a circumstance the Cardinals would certainly take. So we'll see. But it's up to Liberatore. Again, if you can go 5 innings, give up 1 run the way Mikolas did today on 79 pitches, I don't think Libby will be quite granted that level of pitch count because he's gone 50 and then about low 60s, if I recall correctly, in his last start. So maybe 70, 75 if they really want to max him out, depending on how the stress level of the innings is going. But that's where the Cardinals are on Sunday. I think it's a big one for them to be able to kind of lock in. And, gosh, I mean, you're looking at the Nationals are 4 games under, the Mets 5 games under, along with the Cardinals 5 games under, Arizona 4 under, Giants 3 under, the Pirates are 5 under, and the Padres are 1 game below 500. You've got a whole bunch of teams right in that mix. One of the teams I just named, more likely than not, is going to the playoffs. But I don't know that 2 of them are. Of the 6-7 teams I just mentioned that are between 3 and 5 games under, and then you add in the Padres at 1 game under, they currently occupy that final spot. They're all going to be vying for that 1 spot. Maybe a division overturns itself and something crazy happens, but already a little bit more than 25% into the season, I think we can sort of discern where these lines are going to be drawn. And for the Cardinals to just be able to be on the more positive side of that grouping as quickly as you can, I think it makes a difference. So that's kind of my thoughts on Saturday night and everything that they'll be facing leading into Sunday. But I wanted to, before we got out of here, touch on, and this is a shout out to Frank Cusimano, Channel 5 here in St. Louis, KSDK, because Frank got the interview with John Mozeliak. We haven't heard from Mo as publicly as this in a minute, and I'm sure the full interview with Frank on Channel 5 was worthwhile on Saturday night. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I did see the clip posted by Corey Miller, who works for KSDK as well in their sports department, and wanted to just give you this clip from John Mozeliak, this quick quote, and see what you thought of it. Again, this aired from Sports Plus on KSDK News Channel 5 in St. Louis. I'm sure they do a YouTube channel and different things where if you want to go back and watch the interview, you'll be able to do so. But before we get out of here, shorter episode tonight because I do got to get to bed. Noon game on Sunday anyway, but wanted to play this clip from Cardinals President of Baseball Operations posted by Corey Miller, and it's from the interview that Frank Cusimano did with Mo for Channel 5. Talking about the fan frustration and sort of the way that he has experienced that on his end, because he is, of course, the target of a lot of it.
Well, most of my family understands not to read things and not to follow social media. I will say, it's hard for someone like myself to just say, oh, I can ignore it, because that's impossible. I certainly get the sense that the city is tiring of me, and the vocal minority is getting louder and louder, and the only thing that can change that course is we start playing better.
So that's very interesting. The city is tiring of me is the thought from John Mozeliak. I do have to push back on the comment. And again, I don't have the full context. You really should go check out the whole interview and Frank does a great job. But the part I push back on is him saying vocal minority. And it kind of feels like another way that the front office and Mo and ownership, and because they're all part of the same conglomerate, right? Some Cardinals fans will say, oh, you got to fire Ollie. He's bad. Well, who's making the roster? Okay, the front office. Well, the front office, you got to fire Mo. He's bad. Well, okay. If you feel that way, recognize that Mo is also, if it's a case of, well, they should spend more. Well, it's not Mo being quote unquote cheap, right? He has a budget that he's allowed to adhere to, and Bill DeWitt Jr. sets that, right? So there are nuances to all of this when you levy some criticism. But Mo talking about the criticism that he gets, he says, okay, my family understands, don't read it. Don't worry about it. In my seat, though, it is kind of hard to ignore what he says. He says it's hard for him to not look at any of it, which is interesting that he admits that. And I don't disagree with that premise. I would think that in his shoes, man, I would probably be reading the stuff every day, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I get a stray YouTube comment that makes me upset. I'm like, damn, this guy doesn't even understand me. If I could just get in front of him and talk to him, maybe we could settle it. And then sometimes I have to go, you know what? It's not worth getting into an argument with somebody because life's too short. But like, that's just to show you, like, I care how people view me, and I'm a nobody. John Mozeliak is running the damn Cardinals. It's a big deal, right? So he's gonna be inclined. It's inherent to human nature to kind of want to be well received, and right now he's not well received. Not so sure about if the city is tiring of him. I think they wouldn't be tiring of him at all if the Cardinals were winning. So I think they're tiring of the product that he's put out the last couple of years because they want to see winning baseball, and they're skeptical that they're going to get to this year, and they certainly did not get to last year. So I don't know about that part of the comment. But where he says the vocal minority is really what I wanted to touch on. It's like, I don't know that it's a vocal minority at this point. I think it's like, objectively speaking, if you have a 91-loss season in which you ask for a lot of patience from fans and you didn't deliver, there's going to be some frustrations there. And so going into this year, if this year isn't a good one, which again, there's plenty of room for this one to be a good one, but it hasn't been so far. Even with the recent uptick, what has it been, 5 of their last 6, they're still 5 games under. Tells you they were 9 games under there for a brief moment, and that wasn't very good. It's still not great. So to chalk it up to, well, that old vocal minority, they're always the loudest ones, those critics will be the ones that are loudest, but it doesn't represent. I don't know about that at this point. Believe me, I talk to enough casual Cardinals fans, and God bless the people that are listening to this podcast and watching it on YouTube. You're not the casual Cardinals fans. You guys bleed this stuff, and the reason I know is because you're listening to a stranger on a daily basis talk about this team. And I wish I was not a stranger to all of you. I'd love to meet each and every one of you because it does genuinely mean a ton to me that you listen to this podcast. But like, we can call a spade a spade. You guys freaking live this, to be making it part of your day to listen to commentary on the Cardinals, and then you gear up for the next night's game and you watch the crap out of that too, and then you do it all over again. Like, that's dedication and commitment. But there are Cardinals fans who are more casual that I talk to and know that don't listen to podcasts and they're not locked in on this level. And even they're like, I think Mo has really gotten kind of stale, right? Like, how come they can't win? They might not have like the deep-seated baseball knowledge that y'all have listening to the show, but they see enough to go, I don't know about that Mo guy. Is he lost his fastball? So I think kind of chalking it up to those sorts of things is maybe a little bit convenient. But also, it's hard to talk about the criticism that you yourself receives in a way that's going to make you come off good. You know what I mean? That's going to make you look good at the end of that interview. So credit to Mo for doing the interview, doing the sit down with Frank. And it's just one of those deals that he's going to be asked about some difficult topics and may put his foot in his mouth once or twice. I thought that part was maybe one where he did. It's not a vocal minority, I don't think, at this point. I think it's just a vocal group that is growing in number the more games the Cardinals lose. Now, maybe things are going to turn around because they're playing better baseball right now, and this doesn't have to be a topic anymore. Believe me, I would love nothing more than if this was not a topic, because it would be nice to see a Cardinals season destined back for October, and then I could be doing podcasts in the playoffs instead of every day having to go, well, I don't know, they're kind of stinking right now, and seeing the comments of people going, I've given up. Like, that's not as fun of an environment. Believe me, I'd rather be talking about a winning team. So let me know your take, though, Cardinals fans, if you heard the clip from Mo, if you heard the extended interview with Frank on Channel 5, if you have thoughts on that, that's part of the discourse, and I'm curious what people think about sort of the circumstances of where everything sits right now. And the Cardinals being 5 games below 500, I don't think the city would be too tired of Mo if they were 5 games up or 10 games up or in first place. I think they'd be waving the Mo flags. There would always be the vocal minority at that point, sure. But it's not, I don't think it's a minority when it's kind of gotten to the point where, all right, things are feeling a little stale and we've been promised maybe a bill of goods and feel like it's not been delivered upon. If this team starts delivering, and to Mo's credit, that's what he said, right, in the quote, in the clip we just played. He said, look, that's going to happen. Only way to change that is by us playing better. Hey, Cardinals are playing better this past week. Can they keep it going? That's going to be the question. Appreciate you guys for listening, as always. That is going to do it, though, for this edition of the show. Make sure to hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner if you haven't done so already. Cardinals content all season long for the diehards. And, hey, even if you're casual, feel like you learned a thing or two. You can tell me if you're a longtime listener. Tell me in the comments, do you learn something from the podcast? Because that's the hope, is that you also come away thinking, oh, okay, didn't think about it that way. Or, all right, that's something I didn't know. I'm trying to provide some entertainment, but also some information. So hit that subscribe button if you'd be so kind. And you can also do so, follow on Spotify. Just search b-schaeff Daily on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and have it that way. And on YouTube, check out the link in the bottom of the description if you'd like to join the B-Schaeff Daily Gang, I think I called it. And you don't have to have gang signs. It's not scary. You're just part of the crew that is a channel member. I think I'm over 8 now, so everybody's name should be displayed. You should get a chance to see your badges displayed on the membership page on the channel every time you go to it. Is something that I think I had to get 8 subscribers to do that. So that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thank you guys so much for listening, as always, and we'll talk to you next time on B-Schaeff Daily. Peace.